Well, good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're in Italy, we're at Sardegna, we are grinding. We are trying to find the right cars, the right process to earn money, and we're going to give you around about 20 suggestions for cars you can use in the race. It would only be fair to come to Italy and suggest a Ferrari, an Italian stallion, a horse for the course from Italy. Of course, here we are, the La Ferrari. It is an absolutely awesome looking beast. It almost encapsulates everything from the F40, the F50, the 458, almost everything into one package. It looks absolutely stunning, and with its front lip, its side skirts, rear valance, and its rear spoiler, it adds all the racing elements to the car. Now, I've tried the F40, I've tried the F50, I've tried the 458 road car from '09. Not all of them shine a light on this little thing, but this thing absolutely rides head above the rest. We could go as far as to spend 3.6 million credits on the Supreme Being, which is is it the FXX that would be the race car, but that's over 1,000 horsepower. I mean, this isn't far off 1,000 horsepower. I think it might be something like 1,024 horsepower. But ultimately, it is there for the count. It is there to be tested and tried, and we can't have this race without a Ferrari, can we? Let's go look at the setup. So it's 1,017 horsepower. It's 798.62 pp against a target for 800. It's carrying the racing softs. We're going to be stopping twice. Fully customizable suspension, of course, everything default. These are about easy tunes. Fully customizable diff with the trademark now 555. Anything that's rear wheel drive gets changed to that, makes it more drivable. Downforce 323 on the front, which we could probably give that a little bit more, which tunes it into. Let's probably see where it goes. We'll just do that live. There we go, 799.94. So 332 on the front, 600 on the rear. Fully customizable ECU, not capped at all. Nothing capped in the performance adjustments. The fully racing transmission set to 390. Now there's a full 7 gears in there. Some of that is tuned up just to give us the fuel usage. Nothing available in the turbocharger or supercharger field, but we then have the racing air cleaner, silencer and manifold. Brake system is racing slotted disc with racing pads. Brake controller set all the way to the front to take the pain off the rear tyres. It's still going to suffer with the rear tyres, I think. Racing clutch and flywheel. We've not added the titanium com rods or the crankshaft, purely to keep it below that 800. And then we've installed the body rigidity. So that's where we are. Let's get it to the track. And here we are at the track, the World Touring Car 800. I've seen lots of people today asking on the forums about when the next update is. We don't actually know is the answer. But what I'm trying to do is get this race series complete before we leave update 1.37. It should still be valid after 1.37. However, if we can keep it all within the race, we've got about 10 more days to get probably 5 or 6 more cars done and the final race. So hopefully this time next week we should have the final race done. Let's see where we are for settings. Assist, traction control 1, default ABS. We're grinding, it needs to be easy. So ASM is on and counter steer on strong. And then controller settings, controller sensitivity 5, force feedback max torque 5, force feedback sensitivity 6. Are we ready to give it a shout? Let's give it a go. Straight away we're going to put fuel map to 6. And here we go. Ooh, we're not looking brilliant at this time, but let's get it up to the corner, start to apply the brakes. Just before the 100. Get it car braking it along. Now if you notice, it's got a little battery in the rev counter, in the speedo. That little battery indicator is a little electrical power source to give our little hybrid motor a bit of a push along. And as you can see, it's got 12.7 miles on the clock. So I've done round about 3 laps of practice in here, making sure it's going to make the first, well, the strategy, the 2-stop we've talked about. We're going to try and go 5 laps. That means we've got to short shift a little bit to get this to where it needs to go to. And we also want to be keen and aware on that battery recharge. So It recharges under braking. We're getting a little bit of a nibble on the rear from Mr. Kawakami. He's giving us a right bump and grind. And we are being forced off our racing line. Going to slip past the 458. We overtake 3 cars in one corner. Absolutely tremendous. Tyres are taking a right beating in the first laps. 4.4 laps of fuel at the end of lap 1. We're doing okay. We're up to 12th place, so we've overtaken 8 cars. Braking just before the 150. And we've used about 25% of that battery. What I don't know is whether that battery's going to recharge whilst we pit stop, or whether it's all down to us. These are things I've not tested or experimented. If you don't own this car or haven't tried it out yet, you won't know either. Got to find out where it goes as we close the door on the BMW. Opening lap a 1:42.590, and we take 2 seconds off that already. So it looks like we're going to dip below the 140, which isn't a sparkling out lap, but we're just being hemmed in by traffic, so let's brake on the 150. Let's not put the car under pressure. Mr. Miazano can go to the... Oh, we got clipped onto a post there. Absolutely stonked. We've got a little bit of damage front and rear, which is making the car unsettled. I think we hard-armed the AI a little bit too much there. And then we clipped one of the fence posts in the Armco, which again doesn't help a plastic Ferrari, does it? Fuel's down as well, 2.9. We've got to save a bit, so let's short shift away down the start finish straight. A 1:41.525, so we don't set the fastest lap, which is now with Mr. Portilla a 1:46.87 as we go to the gravel. We're gonna have to short shift some more. Saying that I tested the F40, the F50, all of them were doing around about 3 laps for fuel, which is painful. You're into a 4-stop window there, which is an absolute pain. Mr. Yamanaka can hear us. This engine shouts very, very loud. Oh, don't put it on the grass then. 1.9 laps of fuel. Fastest lap of the race is now with Mr. Fraga, a 1:37.999. We've got a little way to go. We're at the 1:39.998. So to say that Ferrari's capabilities around one of its home tracks is a little bit underwhelming, to say the least. And it looks like we're going to be tragically short of fuel. Might have to go 4-stop, but I don't think 3-stop. I don't think 3-stop will win this if we're not going fast enough. We have to do everything we can to try and short shift that little bit. Mr. Portilla goes to the pits, so on schedule. So we've got the fuel back to where it needs to be. We're short shifting through a 1:38.217, so we've improved our fastest lap, but we haven't actually got anywhere near the fastest lap, and it won't be this lap either because we're going in. Courtesy of Mr. Portilla's pit stop, we're in 3rd place. I'm actually confident that this car will do it now. We've made up so much ground on the other cars, but it needs to come out of the pits with a charged up kinetic unit, doesn't it? That battery needs to be charged. Mr. Fraga is some 11 seconds ahead. We've got to really start to apply. This isn't really a race car. It is very much a hypercar sort of class. As we now make our way into 2nd place. And we've got the fuel. Mr. Fraga goes to the pit, so he's the one we're chasing down. Rear tyres are looking really ropey. We're going to put the softs on. Mr. Fraga is some 9 seconds ahead. 9.2. Everybody down to 7th place is now in the pit, so that means Mr. Rubelar is going to come flying through. We're about to fuel up. Starting taking the fuel now. Mr. Hizal's gone through. Mr. Fraga's left the pits. We're away. 4.9 laps of fuel. We're out in 5th, and we get struck from the rear by the BMW, which means probably a restart. We've got significant damage down the left-hand side. We're 19 seconds from the front. We delivered ourselves right into the line of the traffic there. That was absolute suicide, wasn't it? Need a little word with race control to keep everybody off that racing line. Well, the battery never charged, so that's all down to us to try and save on that deployment. The assumption is that recharge happens whilst you're braking, so we're going to have to force some recharge or we're into a sticky situation. No battery assisted acceleration will be really quite difficult. We're going to have to try and brake as long as we can. We're in 8th place after that incident. 19 seconds behind Mr. Portilla. Not an easy ride, this one. Does that make it tough for the grind? Yes, it does. Every reason not to go grinding. There we go, 3.9 on the fuel. Some 17 point something seconds back. We're about to lose our battery capabilities. about to catch up with the nasty man. Were we hit by the BMW or the Mercedes? I think we were hit by Mr. Beauvoir, weren't we? The Mercedes. Mr. Bishop, our Ferrari partner there, in the 458 GR3. We were purple, but I think we then just left it a little bit with the tail slide going into grassy knoll. There goes Mr. Bishop to the pits just as our fuel ticks to nothing, and we're up to 5th place, and we're not making massive headway here. We've still got brake power, just a little bit. Fuel is not looking brilliant, so we're going to have to short shift our way through. "17 seconds behind at the halfway stage. Mr. Portilla keeping his nose out front. As we chase Mr. Beauvoir through. Getting back to roughly where we were when the pit stop exited. Mr. Portilla goes to the pits. We've got 2 laps to do to try and get Mr. Fraga down to a reasonable lead. Mr. Fraga still holds that fastest lap of the race, and we have got just the smidgenest of battery left. So we're back to 2nd place, which is as far up as the table we've actually been this race. Now we could go and spend 3.6 million credits on the FXX, but based on the performance of this car, there's not much power difference between the two. I don't know if this car's capable. Got to make sure we've got the fuel in the tank. And it is going to be the same as last time. Got about a 9-second gap when we entered the pits to Mr. Fraga, and that spin really did take the impetus away from us. .4 seconds behind, and we've got the same gap back to Mendoza behind us. Could have braked a little later there. Fuel's back to the good point where we've got a lap left, so we can try and push a little bit. Here we are, some 12.5 seconds down, as we were just trying to concentrate on getting the car to where it needs to be. I'll resume the commentary as we come down to the pit stop, so 10.9 seconds back. Mr. Fraga maintains the fastest lap of the race. We are going to have to put in an absolute stonker of a final session. Soft tyres, 9.18 seconds. We've been here before. Rear tyres looking totally done. Mr. Fraga's fuel going in. Tyres swapped for us. You can see the damage to the car. Portilla's gone past again. Mendoza, Grady, Ordonez, Lopez all come to the pits. I'm wondering if it was actually the BMW that we hit. We left the pits in third place. Nobody coming past us this time. 14 seconds behind Mr. Portilla. And we know he's going to the pits, so the other factor here is the battery power is even less than it was. I'm going to push for this in the second lap of the stint. Going to try and get us somewhere near. All we've got to worry about is Fraga. And then at some point I'm going to talk about the capabilities of this car. Not that quick, not that fuel efficient, but battery power's now all gone. But good handling car, I think. It brakes very well at the 150. Of the hypercars, I've not really found one that brakes that well in that shorter distance of time. 8.7 seconds down to Fraga. .5. I've got to catch him, and then we've got to sandbag the fuel. There he is, there's our charge. And there's Portilla. Actually, that isn't. That's Mr. Inestrosa in 20th place. .3 seconds to Mr. Fraga now. We've got some battery power recharged. Kind of messed the acceleration up out that corner. Almost a second down on our best, let alone our fastest lap. .6. It doesn't look like this car's going to be capable, does it? Looks like we're restarting the video. Might as well finish it off now and take the money. I guess the difference was that incident. We're going to have to push and go for it. Mr. Portilla goes to the pits. There's Mr. Fraga. Doesn't look like we're going to get to 7th gear. We're going to have to try and sandbag a bit of the fuel. We don't have the option, but we've got to keep pushing. We've got to attempt to get somewhere there. 5.7 seconds behind. 15 seconds ahead of Portilla. We've got a little bit of green left. We're on for a fastest lap for ourselves. And Fraga's into traffic, it looks like. We've got 2 laps of fuel left. 1.9, we're going to run out of fuel by the looks of it, but I've got to keep pushing. I can't actually back off at this point. 1.8, got to keep it going. A 1:38.054, so just outside the fastest lap, but we don't have a choice. If I can catch him, but it's ultimately too slow to be a grinder. Got to be careful about changing down to first gear. Come on, Mr. Solace. I see Mr. Fraga has just sneaked past Mr. Gallo. He's there in front of us, but we don't have the fuel. Just gonna have to short shift the way through. There he is. 2.5 seconds in it. 1 lap of fuel remaining. Down to 0.9, so we'll run out at this point. I've got to fuel save just a wee bit and make the pass. I don't know if we're going to get there. Mr. Mendoza goes to the pitch, 2.4 seconds behind. I've almost saved enough fuel to give us a full bore run down the start-finish straight, but at that point we've still got to overtake Mr. Fraga. Just hoping he gets balked and blocked by these two and we get a really good run at it. 0.3 on the fuel, just short shifting up. We've blocked him on the inside. We've managed to put him on the grass. We're short shifting through. We've made it to first place. Absolute nail biter. Just got to make sure we've got the fuel. We don't want him to overtake us as we cross the line. He goes to the pits. 0.1. And there it is, the most unthought about victory ever. That was just by the skin of our teeth. I could have actually restarted that 10 laps ago because of the crash. But there we are, we got it through, we got the victory. But is that not a great example of just how bad a race can go? But it was still victorious, 26.02, so a whole minute slower than the previous GTRs. A 1:37.999 goes to Fraga for the fastest lap. We lapped 4 cars. I didn't think we'd lapped any at that point, but there we have it. First place winner. Is it a capable grinder? Oh, I genuinely don't know. We're going to have to try and give that another race, aren't we? There we go, 13.3 million. And another 4-star ticket. There she is. I guess the decision's yours as to whether that's a decent car or not. It's one of those, isn't it? It's without the accident, we'd have probably won by a clear 10 seconds. But it's very difficult to manage the fuel. Very difficult to manage that battery power. But it's a nice little car to drive, actually. But there's so much fuel saving to be done. Eye of the beholder on looks and eye of the beholder on performance. It's up to you. What do you think? What else could we use out of the Ferrari market? I'm not really interested in spending 3.6 million credits on a car that costs so much when we're trying to grind some. But it's got to be added to the stable at some point. Well, thank you very much, folks. All the best. We'll see you on the next one. The decision is yours.